In the last lesson, we wrote this new mutation to add the item to our cart, which we are now tracking inside of Apollo's local state management. We synced up our cart dropdown so that it's actually listening to these cart items. And now we need to modify our collection item so that it fires off our new add item to cart query. So in order to do so, we have to modify our collection item component so that it no longer uses Redux and instead uses our new function. So how do we do this? Well, what we'll do is we have to keep in mind that this item has to get passed in as a function into this function call. So we just got to make sure that when we pass it in as the actual mutation, that's what will happen. So we'll see what that looks like when we write it. So let's just remove all of our Redux bindings. And now what we'll do is we will create that new collection item container. Collection item.container.jsx. What we need to do is import in React from React. So just import in all those things that we're so used to importing now. We know we're writing a mutation, so we got to import mutation from React Apollo. And then we need to import in GQL from Apollo Boost. We got to import in our collection item component so that we can wrap it inside of our new mutation. This mutation will be our add item to cart, which is equal to GQL with the mutation key of add item to cart. This should key capitalized, where our $item is an item type that must be there. And we're just going to call our add item to cart here, passing our item in as the item, getting it with our client directive. So nothing different here. Now, the actual component itself that we're writing is our collection item container. And because we're going to use it in the place of our actual collection item, we have to keep in mind that the place where it's using it is the collection preview component. And it passes the item in as a property. So if we do this, we actually get the item in as a props. But our collection is expecting that item because it needs the name and the image URL in order to show what it is inside of the HTML. So we actually have to pass that down into the component. And as we saw before when we did our collection component, our collection container, we had to pass in the variable that this specific query was expecting. And our component for mutation is the exact same way. But we actually don't have to pass it in as a property here. There's another way we can get it dynamically. And let me show you that now. So what we got to do is still pass our mutation, add item to cart here, except instead, when we get our add item to cart mutation and we pass it into our collection item, what we'll do is we will spread these props in, right, that we're getting from our collection preview component, including the item. Because our collection item depends on this item prop, we're also going to say that add item is equal to a function that gets the item, and then it calls our add item to cart, which is our mutation, except what we're going to do is pass it an object where the variables key is equal to the item. The object with item as the key and then item as the actual item. Now, what this does is it allows us to dynamically pass variables. We no longer have to pass it in when we instantiate the mutation. Instead, what we do is we use the actual mutation that we get back and we pass it an object with the variables key and the actual item key that it's expecting. So this is very similar to how we did it before when we did our collection component with the container. You saw that we had to pass in an object where the title was the value and title being the actual thing that it's expecting. It's the exact same way. Item is the key, right? But then item is also the object that we're passing it through. So now if we save and we leverage this new collection item container where we're using it, inside of that collection preview component, we'll actually hopefully see everything work now. So default as collection item and container. And now if we go back to our app, if we add items to our cart, we see that we have our functionality in now. So this is really awesome because now we've pretty much got our cart working. The only last thing that we have to focus on before we actually add in our remove and our clear is how this number is going to get stacked. So let me show you that as well inside of the next lesson.